So it is 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. So why don't we go ahead and start the meeting? We'll call it to order. One moment. Okay, the first item on our agenda is the February 22nd, 2021 minutes. Do we have a motion to approve those?
So moved. Rick.
Rick Remages, thank you.
I'll second it.
Laurel, second, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The next item is February financials. Do we have a motion for the financials?
I make a motion to approve.
I second it. Mary Lou?
Any discussion on the financials?
No, Lynn and I have a little something that we need to check out, but it's nothing earth shattering. We've got an accounts payable amount on our balance sheet, which shouldn't be there, and we'll figure it out. But other than that, everything looks to be in order.
Any other discussion from other members? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next item, claims from 2/18/21 through March 17/21.
Okay, we're gonna jump
Laurel,
down.
you want to walk through
Yep.
those?
I came in and reviewed all of them, found them to be in good order, and I make a motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
So seconded by Rick Remages. Discussion. Discussion on the claims. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next section of our agenda is item 5, old business, new business documents. Who wants to lead us off there?
Hey, Rick, are you using our agenda or are you just looking at the email I sent?
I'm looking at the email, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good, because I'm lost.
Sorry.
Well, I feel better now, Rick. I'm like, where is he? All right. Okay. So, your old business, you're the first one, Rick.
Hang on.
Okay. Sorry about that.
I'm having problems pulling it up.
You know what? We've got them printed out. How about if we throw out a topic?
Hang on.
You want me to share them for you?
Hang on. That's the bill rates.
Yeah, there were quite a few attachments this time.
Yep, I'm getting there.
I can share them for you if you want, Rick.
That'd be fine.
What do you want, the agenda?
Yeah.
That'd be good. I was just using on the email. Yeah.
Actually, the first one was a follow-up with Mike Konasek regarding the assistant water.
Yeah, I'm working on pulling that up. Thank you. So I
Cool.
did, I don't have that up just yet, but thank you, Rick. So I did actually reach out to Mike Konasek by email and talked about asking him to go ahead and work on a job description for assistant superintendent, just so we had that in our back pocket when and if Austin does in fact, pass the certification, that we would be ready for that. So basically, I reached out to Mike and had that discussion, and Greg Parrish also was working in tandem with Mike. Greg presented his rough draft of that exact position description to Mike, and so that's the updated report that I have, unless, Mary Lou, I don't know if from the HR committee you have anything more up to date than that.
We don't, we did meet I think it's the first Thursday of every month, but that didn't come up. So I don't have an update for it. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, no, that's okay. So that's the update on mine. Okay, the next item would be new utility charges update. Laurel, can you talk to us about that?
Yep, the letter was mailed first class on Friday, with how the mail is running as of this time frame. We could get it probably anywhere from today to maybe a couple days at the very most. I would hope they would be in hands no later than Friday, but that would be the worst case scenario.
Okay. Next item would be you, Mary Lou, update on water.
No, Lynn has to talk about the website.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Both the new charges are going to be on our next water bill, the one that goes out on, that print on March 31st and goes out on April 1st. I was able to use our old format, because we're working on the new one. But the old format, I just added line items. We switched over hydrant charges to be the new fire protection fee, and where it says refuse leaf, it's now going to say refuse leaf stormwater. So they were able to work with me as that being, an immediate update that includes the new charges on the water bill. And because people will have received the letter, I think that will make sense to them when they see it. And secondly, you had mentioned, Rick, getting the notice on the website. What has already been on the website is a document that I had drafted that explained what each of our charges were for our former bill format. And what I did was I used that format and added on a description of the fire protection fee and the stormwater fee. And that's the document that I attached as a Word document in case people wanted to make any edits on it. And I think it's called rates, something about rates is the document. So I can just leave that with you. If you have any, all of you, if you have any suggestions about making changes on it, you can email me and I'll fix it up and then get Meg to put it on the website. Okay, the only thing that I think that might be helpful to be put on here is maybe down at the bottom, put late charges will apply to all except sales tax. Okay, I will do that. I'll email it to you too. Thank you.
Okay, John Wall, thank you for sharing that. You can unshare now. Now that I have my laptop figured out. Okay, so thank you, Lynn, for that. And Laurel, you did the utility receipt taxes. So then truly we're to update water department part-time position.
No, we didn't do the Indiana utility sales tax for 20.
Okay, I guess we're doing sales tax.
We had last week, Paul Delco from Paul Applegate's office come in, and he filed our 2018, he did our 2019, and it's filed in 2020, I believe. On the claims, you'll see there was 2 at the bottom that went to the state of Indiana paying these items. We have until April 15th, I believe, to pay the 2020. So that's all in the work, and it's all, Ron came in, he was extremely helpful. He showed Lynn how to take care of it online. So going forward, we will be able to do that ourselves in the office. And I think Lynn is quite comfortable with that, I think. And so we're all squared away with that.
And Laurel, I'll add that we did make payment for 2020 because when we filed, as we filed, the request for payment came up, and Ron's opinion was that we should pay right away.
Yeah.
So that when they review, once the Indiana Department of Revenue reviews both of the filings and they have any concern about paying us for late fees, he's
Right.
prepared to go right into action to write a letter about that.
Okay. Okay. I also, we know now, we can start doing our quarterly payments starting, I think the first one is due. When is that one due, Lynn?
April 20th.
Oh, okay, good. So we're all set there. We're all understanding. Yay.
Mhm.
Perfect. Okay, now
Yeah.
update water department part-time position, Mary Lou, and hold your applause that I'm now on track here. Okay.
All right. Well, that's okay. It's early. I have to say I didn't get anything done on this, but I think I need to get with Laurel to get this accomplished, and then maybe we work with the lady that helped us before, because we'll get it in the paper or the Beecher. And I also want Lynn to be involved so that, because it will be mostly, if I'm correct, Laura, it'll be mostly what Lynn doesn't do. So it'll be payables, or what she does now, but we'll separate the positions.
Right.
Okay. So I will get with Laurel, and then I will get with Lynn, and then I'd like permission to work with the lady that's helped us before.
Okay, so we're probably talking next meeting.
Yeah, well, I think if
Or
we
soon.
get the job description together, we can start moving on it. Because we have to have a job. Yeah.
Okay.
So do I need a motion?
All right.
What did we discuss last month? Was it relative to publication or expense of hiring?
Right. I think we talked about the charges. We approved up to a certain dollar amount to pay Pam for these services.
Got it. So, but we haven't done anything in that regard. This is just a further discussion of that discussion.
Correct.
So I think there was also some possible thought that maybe because of our HR committee, we could also do some work without actually employing somebody.
I know our
That's-
HR committee, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I know our HR committee right now has 2 jobs that we've posted. And I know the place that we're posting doesn't charge more for posting more. I think you can post up to 5. I guess my thought would be, why do we need to hire somebody when we've already done it twice? I think we could post this job description and get the position filled.
When does the HR committee meet again? I think that, we need to get a job description here, and that was one of the things we were going to have Pam help us with. he had done the job descriptions for the water department in the past, and when we were looking, so it'd be now just separating the two positions so that the new position will be talking about general ledger, payables, budgets, that type of thing. So that just needs to be taken care of before we post it.
Yeah, I know it's cost us nothing to do it for the other two job descriptions, and you can't beat free.
Right.
I wonder whether we're making the process more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, if we have a job description for Lynn, it would seem that we could operate off of that and then decide what separation of duties and reconciliation we might require when the two of them have an opportunity to work together.
Not one of the things I want to comment when you say they're for free, you have to have somebody that writes the job description that's well aware of what the town needs. You then need to do reference checks on the person. They also do the I-9 form. They do the orientation. They schedule them to get their drug test and their physical. So it's not just a slam dunk. But that's my opinion, and that's my background. So it's not just something real easy. Many times, and I know Bill's on here, when I have looked for something, this lady is well aware of all our policies and procedures, and she's pretty good at it. And she helps us with the park program and hiring all those people. Bill and Deanna do not have time to do that.
Do we have a written job description for Lynn?
We do.
We do.
Okay. I'd like to suggest that maybe we should distribute that after this meeting.
I can do that, Rick.
Thanks, Lynn. And Bob, as we hire other employees, who's doing the background checks and obtaining the I-9s and whatever?
I think Bill has handled the I-9s, haven't you, Bill? Up till now?
Yes.
Okay, and I think the HR committee has handled the background checks.
We've only hired one person, Bob.
I understand, and it worked really well. It's frankly probably the best hire we've had.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I agree about it's a great hire. But I also want to remind you that you do have to track on who you interviewed, and it's record keeping, and it's important. So you have to have a central person doing that, or a central file.
Bob LeMay, who actually did all the background checks and everything on our recent hire?
Mike Konizak.
Okay, so then, then maybe that he would be the central person then to take care of all that.
I think that would be real reasonable. He's been very gracious with his time.
Okay, good. So we can, when is the next HR meeting?
It's in April, and I believe it's the 8th.
Do we want to wait until the 8th to present all that there, or Bob LeMay, do you want to talk with Mike and see if he wants to start things sooner?
Yeah, I can do that. I can maybe have him start on that. If we can get him a copy of that job description, I think he could probably work on modifying that job description and making sure that the format of that is the same as the format we have for all our other job positions.
He has a copy of the job description.
I don't. I'd like a copy.
No, Rick, I'm talking about Mike Konizak does.
Right, I understand. Yeah. Thank you.
Can I comment, Rick?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so the thought was originally with the HR committee that we were going to have the HR committee be involved in the hiring across the whole town. And we've been successful with the police chief hire. And I thought we intended to have the HR committee handle the HR functions moving forward for all the different departments. So I'm a little confused about why we're going off in a different direction all of a sudden for the water department hire.
Oh, we haven't gone in a different direction, John. We're discussing options, and I think we can. But I agree with I think we can make some progress before the 8th. Let's review the job description. Let Mike take a look at it and see what his recommendations are in terms of process.
I think you're not going to, your outside person won't have the knowledge, I don't believe, to understand what the difference between Lynn's duties and this new person's duties in terms of job description. I would think that's something that you need to generate in-house.
And I'll say I'm concerned about trying to take and now make up a sandwich that says Lynn will do this and then you'll do that. When one or the other is unavailable, I think our objective here, if I'm not mistaken, is to get Mary Lou and Laurel in a position where they can leave the office. Is that what we have in mind? They hire support for Lynn so that you two are no longer actively involved.
We're
I
not
thought
in,
that's what, I'm sorry, go ahead.
we're not in there. If Lynn needs something, I stop by or she texts me, but Laurel and I are no longer in there. We haven't been in there since probably the end of January. But one of the things you need to remember, when we hired Lynn, we were looking for 2 people, one person to work 3 days a week and one person to work 2 days a week.
Oh, I agree.
And cross-trained. Yeah, and cross-trained so that if, like Rick Rema just said, if somebody's not there that day, they at least know how to get on the computer and help the customer figure out about their water bill or whatever. But that was the whole principle when we hired Jean and Lynn. So it won't be that hard to step back in, but we need a strong bookkeeper on that side. Don't you agree?
Right. We need someone who has strong accounting abilities. I would say not a bookkeeper level, but an accountant level, which would make things go real smoothly.
Okay, so it sounds like we're going to, Lynn, you're going to share your description with all of the board. And then any comments that the board would have on those as far as it relates to the new person we're looking for, are we going to funnel those to Mike Konasek? Or are we going to funnel those to say maybe you, Mary Lou, and then you can go ahead and work with HR committee on finalizing the description? Does that make sense?
I like Bob's suggestion that the format and the description have some relationship to other job descriptions of the town. I'd like to see Mike review what we have, and if he has suggestions, well and good. I think it put us on a better footing to move forward.
Agreed. So my only point is from the board perspective, Rick Remages might have some thoughts, and certainly Laurel and Mary Lou have thoughts, and I might have thoughts. Are we sending our comments directly to Mike via email, or what are we doing? Who is our next, step as a board to funnel those to?
I'd say distribute them to the board and to Bob. Let Bob, he's in communication with Mike Conisbeck. Perhaps he can, I don't have Mike's information. Perhaps he can send it to Mike, ask for his advice, and then we can distribute it internally.
Or maybe when Lynn sends it to us, she would also send it to Mike, indicating that we would be reaching out to Mike with any of our comments, and then he'll be directly in the chain of the email chain. So could you do that, Lynn?
I can. I have his email as far as I'm almost positive I did, yes.
So that's the recommendation then, is we'll as this board, as we receive these, those suggestions on the position description would then go directly to Mike. And then Mike and HR committee can finalize it, standardize basically on the standards of all of our town position descriptions. And I think we're off and running.
Oops.
Okay. Any more comments on that? Next item, ordinance town versus policy water department regarding State Board of Accounts requirement for account uniformity. Lynn?
Okay, this is to follow up when we talked last meeting. Rick, you had asked me to double check basically with the Jennifer Pryor, who was the person who worked with me on accounts receivable, and she was the one who raised the concern specific to the account that is in Long Beach that would normally be paying for water and garbage. And she had emailed me. It was a test case, and she emailed and said, "Why aren't they paying what everybody else pays?" And that's what started the discussion between she and I. And I had checked with Bill, and Bill said, "Well, there's been this understanding over the years that we don't charge them for the refuse." I got back to Jennifer Pryor and said, "It's been an understanding." And she goes, "Well, that's not good enough. It needs to be an ordinance." And she said, "You have a rate ordinance that defines all the charges that are supposed to be uniform across the community. And anything that's not uniform needs to be addressed at the ordinance level." So she repeated that to me when I called her. And what I sent to all of you was there's a document attached that is the SBOA. I think it says SBOA something. I forget what the document title is. It was in your list of things I sent.
Yeah, it says SBO rate ordinance PDF.
Rate ordinance, yeah. So she said that can be done as amendments to the rate ordinance, that anything that we build differently needs to be addressed. So when I reviewed her emails, and that's what I sent you, was there, and I rearranged them in the order in which they came instead of it all going backwards as threads usually do. So I rearranged it so that it's, from farthest past to future. And what I then began to think about is that the three categories we had talked about last time, Rick, that the first two, the issue of people that do not pay for refuse, that we have a number of customers who do not, that they would need to have, that would need to be put into the amendment addendum to the rate ordinance, saying this is why those people don't pay for refuse. Correct. And the one customer in particular is the one that was highlighted, was the country club, in terms of why they have a different reason. Their reason is different than what the car suites are about. And then the second category is the people who have secondary accounts for their meters for their pools or irrigation systems or or sprinklers. And we call those secondary meter accounts because they're on the main property. And the board had reiterated earlier on that we would be charging them for the base rate and the water usage and tax, and that would be it on the secondary meter accounts. And Jennifer's response to me about this whole issue of uniformity, anything that's not in uniform, we need to be able to say why it isn't, and that it has to be at the ordinance level. So that's the second category, would be the people that are not being charged their local capital improvement and the refuse leaf on those secondary meters. And then the third category had to do with my questions regarding the empty lots. And the more I thought about it, I thought, well, this might actually be a policy area, not an ordinance level, because what we have been doing is, of course, having the people who have empty lots pay all of our base fees. They pay basically everything except for water usage on those empty lots because there is no water usage. But we don't have anything. I looked through all the policies that we have, and unless there's an ordinance that I'm not aware exists, because I haven't looked through the town's complete booklet of ordinances, what I have looked through is the ordinances are at the water department office. And I'm thinking that we need to at least have it in the policy format of what our policy is regarding empty lots, because I could not find one that spells it out. But I was thinking that wouldn't have to be an ordinance addendum, because basically what we're doing is saying people with empty lots have to pay all of our basic rates. So they won't be out of uniform. It's just that we don't have it spelled out as to what our policy is regarding empty lots. So the first two would need to be at ordinance level addendums to our rate ordinance, and the third one being, I think, just a policy change. And that's why I put it on the agenda, because I certainly am not the one to make that decision. But that's my understanding of it so far.
I just as a thought, somewhere along the line, it seemed to me if there was a tap on an empty lot, then we charged those fees.
Oh, well, Laurel, I've been working with Greg about each of the empty lots that I've identified.
Okay.
And so he knows exactly. Basically what he said to me is that any lot that has a tap, but he said, however, and this was the part that I put in the attachment to our meeting today in the packet, I put in information about this. The empty lot issue varies from empty lot to empty lot. So I think it's really important that we cover all of our bases in a policy saying if this is your situation, if this is your situation, if this is your situation, then our policy is that you pay, and put it in writing. So it has to do with taps. Yes, it does indeed. But there are some special circumstances regarding properties that may have also gone through LaPorte County to merge their lots. And so they may own two lots, but as far as LaPorte County goes, it's only one lot now. So that's a completely different situation. But I made comments about that in that attachment I sent to all of you.
Okay, so let's take the first one first, which is there would be the group where we actually need to state on the ordinance the special conditions that apply.
Regarding why they don't have to pay for refuse.
That is correct. And so
there's 7 accounts.
Okay. And so why don't we act on that first?
Mm-hmm.
So do we have a motion to make an addendum to the ordinance that would clearly identify those 7 as being special conditions on why we would not be following the rate ordinance above. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Discussion on those 7 customers.
I just have a question. Is this an ordinance, a town ordinance, or is it a water ordinance?
My understanding is that all the ordinances are town ordinances.
That's what I thought. Okay, so we would have to.
So what we'd be doing is using our existing rate ordinance,
Mhm.
and that there would be addendums that would spell out the exceptions to uniformity.
Okay,
So,
And as I'm, go ahead.
well, if we want, so I don't know the protocol here, but we obviously have the people with us that do. So if we want to simply approve it as the water board and send it to the town council to create final approval, then that probably makes sense because it's a town ordinance and not a specific water board ordinance.
Yeah, so what you guys should probably do is put together an amendment to your ordinance stating exactly what you want. I think you want to make sure that, right now you have 7, but you probably need to make sure that that generalizes to anybody else who adds a secondary water system too. So if you send that to town council, then town council can take a look at it and hopefully get it approved.
Let me actually clarify that there's what you just said, Bob. There's 2 different issues there. The first set of accounts have to do with all the customers who do not pay for refuse. And as I was saying that, I realized that it is a larger number than 7. It has to do with all the people that live in the Cove, and they have Michigan City water, basically.
Yeah.
And I mean, not Michigan City water, Michigan City refuse, which is why they have the option of not having Long Beach refuse, but we don't have that in writing.
Yeah.
To my knowledge. I mean, again, unless it's in an ordinance packet that I haven't seen. And that the 7 accounts have to do with the people that have not been paying leaf either. So I forgot that the 7 is, we're going to correct that. I talked with Bill Kuniak about it. I showed him the letters I was going to mail to those 7 accounts that haven't been paying for refuse or for leaf. But what we'll need an ordinance is the agreement that we have with all the people who are in the Hacienda area, the Cove, et cetera, as to why they don't have to pay refuse. And the Long Beach Country Club is a special account because they're not in that group. They're in their own group. So, but there are 7 accounts that need to be corrected immediately, just regarding that they should be paying leaf and they haven't been. I'm going to be sending letters to those. So I apologize for that miscommunication I did. It's a much larger number than 7.
Okay. So you can create, Lynn, a complete list
of all those accounts. Yeah.
of every single account and then present that to the town council for their approval.
Right.
Yeah, and our attorney will look at it. I'm sure he'll, well, unless you're really good at legalese, he'll put it in some kind of legalese so that it matches the way the rest of our ordinances look.
right.
But yeah, if we can just get all the ideas across, I think that should work.
Okay.
Okay. And then, so you want to do them separately, Rick, right now? You don't want to discuss the secondary meter simultaneously, right?
So the first part was that required us, or the town, to approve those different rates, say at the bottom of that specific ordinance for those specific people. Then the next part of it was the policy part.
That's the third set. There's 2 groups of accounts that require addendums to the rate ordinance. The group of accounts, that's much larger number of people that don't pay refuse because they have Michigan City refuse.
Right.
The second group are the secondary meter accounts. that we've made the decision as a board to not charge them for their local capital improvement and their refuse and leaf, because it's not, they have a main property account and then the secondary meter account is on the same property, but they're a different account. And Jennifer said they're different accounts. So you've got to say, why are you having this account that doesn't have all the same charges on it as everybody else? And that's another ordinance level. The third group is the one that, the third group is the policy level.
Yeah, I'm suggesting both groups 1 and 2 would be sent to the town for their approval.
Right, I agree.
Okay.
I have a question regarding the Cove. I would think that probably most people do not have our refuge pickup. But say if there's a house that has, right now they pay both, pay ours and they're collecting our garbage in Michigan City. But say they sell the house and then the new person comes along and says, well, I don't want to pay for both of them. So I think we need to have something in that ordinance change or addendum stating something to that effect.
Well, it's the addresses are what identify them, not the actual customers. So all the addresses that have Michigan City refuse as an option, they can choose whether or not they want Long Beach. So customer 1 might not, but their O2 might say, I do want both. And so it will be identified by address. Yeah.
Okay. So we wouldn't have to redo it later if we make a change.
Because each of those accounts would be, basically the ordinance will say they have an option.
Right.
They can either have Michigan City refuse or both if they choose to.
Okay, good. Okay, so we're going to put the 2 together then?
No, there'll be 2 different addendums
Okay.
to the rate ordinance.
What was the issue you said you wanted to deal with at a policy level?
The fact that we have empty lots and that the people that have empty lots with a tap, they have to have a tap, they get charged all of our fees because they have a tap. And that was the way the budget was drawn up originally. But I couldn't find anywhere where we have that in writing. So it's not a rate change. To me, it seems like a policy level. And that's why I'm putting that out as a question mark. Do you all agree that that's a policy level change? Not a change, a policy level issue in terms of describing, here's what we do with empty lots.
I guess it might be wise to just include that in the ordinance. Then there's no question. We've done more than handle it. And if the State Board of Accounts says, no, that wasn't a policy, it need to be an ordinance next time around, we won't have that issue. So to me, that would be the safest way to do it.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. So Lynn, if you want to include that,
Okay.
1, 2, 3, and we'll just, since we're already.
I think that the reason I was concerned about it is that they're not, they're uniform. That group of accounts are uniform.
Yeah.
So if we're addressing non-uniformity, that third group doesn't really fit that, but we can add it in as another addendum item. It just won't be, so 1 and 2 will be related to each other, but they'll still need to be separate. And then we'd be adding a third addendum to the rate ordinance to say they pay all the base fees. The only thing they don't pay is water usage, obviously, since there's no property, no house on the property, nothing using the water.
So where number 1 and number 2 are really an obvious deviation from the rate information that's called out in the ordinance.
That's right.
The third section you're talking about is actually clarifying the rate for these specific people.
That's right.
So if you could present it that way, that 1 and 2 are definitely special conditions, and that number 3 would be clarifying the body of, say, the rate ordinance that already exists, then we would take care of the number 3 group, right?
Mhm. I think
So let's go ahead and present it that way. And I'm sure that if the town attorney has any questions, he'll be back in touch with.
right. Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion on that item? Okay, next would be
Rick?
big balance.
Oh, Rick.
Oh,
Go ahead.
one other thing, because there's quite a few empty lots in the Cove, and I don't want to be remiss on this, but we are going to have to charge those people. They don't have water taps there, but they'll get the stormwater thing. So maybe, even though that's not a water department thing, we might want to include it in the ordinance.
Mary Lou, you're saying that they get a stormwater fee, so they have accounts already?
No, we'd have to set those up. We have the addresses.
So that's a different issue entirely.
Yes,
Those
but I'm
people who
just-
don't have taps.
Right, I'm just thinking out loud because anybody
Okay.
that has a lot
Mhm.
should be getting the stormwater fee, I think. So I can try and look up some of that stuff. I think I showed it to Bill early on and maybe John Wall, just so that they knew, because there's probably, I want to say maybe 10 lots out here, maybe more. I can look again and see.
That have been purchased,
They're
but they have
owned
not
by
yet put,
they're owned by a developer. And but no one's purchased the lots from him.
so it would be
So that
like
would-
Camp Properties. We would have that developer have 10 accounts
Right.
that would be charged stormwater only?
Well, I thought that's what we talked about. I see John Walls on there and I know Bob LeMay. I thought if you had a lot here, you had to pay the stormwater fee.
You do. And actually fire protection probably too.
Yeah.
Well, now you're raising the question that they don't have to have taps in order to have those charges, because then we get into, well, do they have to also pay refuse leaf? Do they also have to, yes, the empty lots that have taps are paying for everything.
Okay.
So now you're
Yes.
saying empty lots without taps is a different issue entirely. So
Right.
That's grouping number 4 now.
sure is, yeah.
So that's our 4th pile.
I'm sorry, it just came to my mind and I thought, well, while we're all here, and I thought John Wall and Bill and I talked about this, and I can help Lynn. We have to, that's another letter. It probably should come from maybe Bill or Bob LeMay.
Well, we would be creating accounts that don't currently exist.
Right, absolutely. Yep. So.
Let's pursue the 4th pile.
Okay.
Is it the 4th or 5th? I promise I'll work on. I think I have it already listed, so I'll find it for you.
So I guess the intent would be that we do.
What you cut out, John?
Yeah.
John?
John's frozen.
Do these lots have addresses, Mary Lou?
They have descriptions.
Yeah, how are we going to make an account without an address?
Well, I think we would bill the owner. Because there's 2 lots over across the street from me that I have no access and they just sold.
Okay, so maybe we'd go by lot number?
We could go by lot number and then whoever the owner is. Because we don't know, but you know how they bring the pink flags out and there's been a surveyor out there. So I'm assuming the 2 lots on the other side of Duffy that are behind the one house here have sold.
So they wouldn't be owned by the developer, they'd be owned by the customers.
Right.
And at some point, I wonder at what point the county gives them actual numbers, street addresses.
I don't know that process. I could try. You want me to call the assessor and,
Well, we just need to know if they have addresses, it would need to go into our system with addresses, I would think.
yeah, but the only problem is there's no mailbox. So,
Well, it would be billed to the developer.
right, or the owner of the lot, whatever. Because we do billing for people that have but they, like Lynn said, they have a physical address, but we actually send the bill sometimes to their other home.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah,
That's no problem. We just have to have a billing address. But in terms of making an account, to make an account, we have to have some way identifying the Long Beachness of it.
okay.
So
I'll look into that, and I've got the descriptions.
Okay, and once
Those
John,
addresses should be available in Beacon Schneider. I would have.
mhm.
That's where that's where I got it, and I printed it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay, and once John rejoins us, he was mid-sentence and froze, so we'll get his thought and finish this topic a little later.
Okay.
So I think
Rick, just
yeah, go ahead, Bill.
just one comment. Typically, the vacant lots do not have addresses. So but they do have a lengthy property identification that we've got. So we've got that. But as Lynn has said, we've got 2 addresses in the system, and the second address for billing.
Okay.
There's a function in Beacon, if you go down to the picture of the lot, you can click on that and work your way right down every lot using that function. Instead of getting the 4-page report, you can see a 1-page description of who owns it, what their mailing address is, what the legal description is, and if that's some help, I'm come in and sit down and go through those lots in the cove with you.
Yeah, and maybe Rick, you can work with Mary Lou, or do you want to just take on
Fine.
what?
Yeah. We'll start there, Mary Lou.
Okay.
I don't know if that is part of the issue or not, but
It's part of the what, Rick?
I don't know if finding the addresses and legal descriptions of those lots is part of the issue here or not.
Okay.
Okay, John, while you're back with us, did you have any final comments?
No, I apologize. The internet at the house seems to be going in and out. No, I think we just seem like we're all on the same page. We wanted the stormwater to be attached to all the lots, and we wanted to maybe cover, I don't know whether we want to do that with the leaf and I guess the garbage, if they're not developed, probably isn't fair. I don't know about the leaf and what was the third one, Mary Lou? I thought we were.
Fire
Fire
protection.
protection.
Fire protection, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, fire protection at a minimum.
Yeah. Okay. So we're now to big balance.
Okay, this is very quick. I had presented last time my concern about when the COVID restrictions are being lifted, when we would start with water shutoffs again, and being able to give fair warning, quite honestly, fair warning to the people who had accumulated these larger balances due to financial hardship. So we talked about that in the last meeting and agreed that we would begin evaluating customers for water shutoffs starting in April. Well, when I did the last set of bills that went out March 1st, I used my yellow marker and highlighted where it says any past due balance is subject to water shutoff. And all of them paid in full, with the exception of one. And so the one person who did not pay in full, that is the one person I'm waiting to get a negotiation, offer regarding what his payment plan can be, what is doable for him. Because the way we left it was that if the customer calls and says, I want to be on a payment plan, I'm not going to be able to pay in full by March 31st. And this is what I can do. And I agree to do this. And if they don't make that payment every month, that's when they would be put on our shut off list and go into the process of that extra month of seeing whether or not they can pay in full. And if not, then the water is shut off. So we're down to one customer instead of, I think I had like 6 when we last talked, but they all paid in full. Yay.
Okay, good. So
Did that customer get in touch with you, Lynn?
Not yet. He paid. He sent a amount of money for this month, but didn't respond to the fact that I'd written him a letter. So when I sent him a receipt for his payment, I said, you still need to contact us to negotiate a payment plan. And I haven't heard from him yet.
Okay.
So we'll wait.
I think there is financial hardship, I believe, is we know that about this customer. So I will do what I can to communicate and get an agreement.
Okay. All right, then the next is 17 back charges.
Yeah, I put on the, in this fashion. I had drafted letters that I wanted Bill Defuniak to approve to the commercial customers because of them being commercial customers and they had not been paying for leaf as well as not paying for refuse. And I showed the letters to Bill and he was okay with that. The wording of the letter, we made a few changes. So those letters are going to be going out immediately. But the full number of accounts that have warrant that back charges discussion, Bill and I talked about the fact that he could help with the accounts that are not paying for their, had not been paying for their refuse, because that is a town charge. And Bill, do you want to say anything about this since you're here with us about the negotiation process, taking that on for us?
Yeah, I missed some of what you said because my computer cut out, but
having to do with the back charges.
yeah, no, I got that part. I got this part of it. Lynn did send me a list on Friday, and I didn't even download the list, so we need to do that. But it probably needs to have some input from the council because procedure had been we talked about 3 years, and then tell everybody that here's where we start with 3 years back, just as the county does for probably Rick Remigis knows that with his real estate background, that they typically will go back 3 years. If they've made a mistake, you're still responsible. That's kind of tough. We made a mistake, but you're responsible for the prior 3 years. And so that's maybe the first negotiation spot, but I don't mind being the heavy to send out those letters. So I don't know whether I've got Bob LeMay and John Wall on it, but we really we haven't gone backwards. I mean, we had one customer who was willing to pay, and then we kind of got tangled up on our shorts and trying to decide what was the equitable amount to charge. So does 3 years sound? I realize this isn't a council meeting, but I just, the heads that are here, I wouldn't mind if 3 years sounds like a good number.
Sounds good to me. We probably need to put it on the agenda for a council meeting though, because we can't make any decision.
Yeah, I think we've got a meeting on the 12th, and this will. And what we've done is the people who have missed are up to date. It's just going backwards where we have to deal with it. So we have people who have stepped up. So I mean, typically the mistakes were on us, not on them. skipping payments. We just never caught everybody. So, all right, then we'll add that to the 12th.
So there's 8 more letters that I'll be sending out to the commercial customers and then to the one person in the cove that does indeed have a tap. But we have not been including that one customer just by complete oversight in the empty lot issue with a tap. So he'll be getting a letter saying that, he'll be charged the base fees going forward. And then everyone will have been contacted by letter. Every one of these customers will have been contacted and had their accounts going forward all fixed. But now it's specifically the back charges of 3 years. So I'll work with you on that too, Bill, to make sure we know exactly who and Bob LeMay also, so you know which accounts we're talking about. And I think will we only be doing the town council for the accounts that are specific to town, or will we be doing the town council for all 17? Some of them are just water rates that are going to be back charged, not town charges.
Well, we had talked to whatever the town actually agreed on, that we would then follow suit with just our charges, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I think the town's going to have to sign off on everything.
Okay, Bob, I'll send you the complete list to them.
Good.
Okay. That's that.
Okay, are we to the small claims now?
Yeah.
Mary Lou?
Yes, I think it was 2 meetings ago and we brought that up. And so I sent an email to Chris Willoughby and he said nothing new to keep us updated, but I can send out another note to him and ask him.
Okay.
So Mary Lou, you've not heard from him at all for several months?
I think it was 2 meetings ago you guys asked me to, and I sent him an email and said anything new on this case. And he said, I'll keep you updated. Nothing new right now.
Well, we've been on the agenda every month.
I know. You know what? I'll reach out to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Lynn.
Okay. Any additional old business? Moving to new business. Board approval to void state checks.
Dale.
Supposed to say stale.
Lynn.
Stale check.
Stale checks. That's what the State Board of Accounts.
Stale check.
Yeah, the State Board of Accounts woman, Jennifer, the other Jennifer, had talked to me, and she used the term stale checks. It means that they're older than 2 years old and outstanding and older than 2 years old. So there's 6 of them. I sent you a list of the 6 checks. I did not send it to the town because there's confidential client information on them, but all the board members of the water board got a list of those checks and a description of what they are. And I also put in that attachment the information that was sent to me by Jennifer, the State Board of Accounts, that talks about what to do with these kinds of checks. They don't need to approve it. The board needs to approve it.
I make
So
a
we can
motion.
do that today.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve writing off these checks.
I'll second. And I have that list in front of me, so any discussion?
Just out of curiosity, what's the total amount on that?
I didn't total these.
Just
When do you
roughly.
have a total?
It's
There was one big one, Bob, for 475. Go ahead, Lynn.
I didn't total them. If anyone wants to calculate it real quickly.
I'm gonna say it's about
It's $1,000. It's under $1,000. It's
And-
6 different checks.
And is
2
there
big
any-
ones for $475 and $373, and the other ones for a few $100.
And these checks were allowed to become stale because of a former employee who didn't
No,
deal with
They
them.
go,
Oh, no,
they
no,
go back
no.
to,
They didn't cash them.
Yeah,
We
but
sent out,
They go back to 214, Bob.
wait a minute, these are checks to the town or from the town?
From the town.
the top to vendors.
Oh, good. Never mind.
Yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
No more discussion. All in favor?
Hi,
Aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Okay.
that was a good one.
Uh-huh. March billing adjustment.
Okay, there's only 2 of them. We're getting down to fewer and fewer here. So the first one's a request to remove the water penalty for the standard concern, which is that she lives in Chicago. She didn't get her bill. She always pays her bill on time. And she was so unhappy that she had her first late charge ever. And I said, I will ask the board to allow you to have it be removed. The second billing adjustment has to do with a meter read. Greg and I had worked with this issue about this particular meter. And after we did, he was switching out the meter, and it turned out that we had double billed him for one of the units. And so I had to not one of the units, a set of the units, it was 7 units, and I had to fix the account and refund the customer. So that's a billing adjustment. And those are the only 2 adjustments that I'm requesting permission to.
I make a motion that we allow Lynn to make those billing adjustments.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have something I'd like to bring up, Rick. And I don't know
Okay, so
if
this
it's
is
older,
Go ahead.
older new business, but Bill DeFoniak, you had sent out an email with showing a bill from the state of Indiana for the audit. I think you thought this was for the water department or for the responsibilities of somebody other than the water department. But this bill, I believe, is your actual bill. Has nothing to do with the water audit. I went back and reviewed figures from when we had our exit interview, and the 2 amounts that were pertaining to the water bill were $6,000, or water department, $6,293.20, and then the other bill, I don't have the exact figure, but it was around $17,000. So this, what you actually received was for the town, and the explanation of how you could report it.
Wrong. That's wrong.
Okay.
I got 2 bills. I got 2 bills. I got one for the Jennifer, as we talk it, one for the Jennifer audit, and one of the dates on this bill were 110 to. I made a contact with the State Board of Accounts, but I'm quite sure that this is the same. It isn't quite the same number. And I'm assuming the reason it's a little bit higher than the number that was on the investigation report is because they probably whacked on some penalties.
Okay.
But I'm quite sure that this is one for the investigation. But I would like to wait. I'd like them to wait. I'd like them to weigh in on. So I've contacted Todd Caldwell and Susan Gordon, who are 1 and 2 in the State Board of Accounts, and asked them to comment on it. I was a little disappointed because I thought they would wait to try to collect from the individual, but their enthusiasm wanes when it's time they have a way to get it. The difference is they can reach into our pocket and not into the water board's pocket.
Right.
Access. And so there needs to be we need to talk about this, but I just assume defer it until I hear from them.
Okay.
Hey, Laurel, I had that number as $17,242 for water.
That we would be actually getting an invoice for. The
Right.
water department will receive an invoice for that. And the other figure there that I had seen was $6,293, and then also I couldn't find the town's figure.
The town's
But-
figure I wrote down was 5,200.
Okay, so then maybe this is ours, but it appears in her letter here, what she's stating is how you could handle this bill through the town, and it shouldn't be handled through the town if it's in fact related to the investigation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead,
I,
look,
yeah.
you know.
I'll need to, I don't understand probably why they didn't wait, but that's their purview.
Okay,
Okay,
Okay.
Lynn, could you put that on the agenda for next month? That
Okay.
Bill's gonna report back to us on that.
Yes.
Bill, we probably need to check on that bond as well, because I think the SBOA was suggesting that we could collect on the bond for that individual as well.
Yes.
I don't think they'll do that. I think that's something we probably need to do.
Yeah.
Have we notified that bonding company that we've got an issue?
Well, the bonding company, the state of Indiana has contacted the bond company, and I got a copy of a letter from the bond company, from the insurance company, which was sent back to the Department of Revenue. So they're supposed to fill out a claim. I mean, they started the process. So yes, there is the possibility we'll be getting some of that money back. I've also contacted the insurance company for the other part of the fee that is part of the criminal side of this thing. But I kind of like to do that off camera, so maybe we could talk about that a little later. So
okay.
Okay. Any other new business? Hearing none, we go to anything from the floor. So let me go ahead and see if there's anybody from the floor. Hearing nothing from the floor. The next item is approval of claims.
Which we did earlier.
We did earlier,
Yeah.
okay?
But I can also say again, and I think we made a motion and we approved it too.
We did.
So, okay,
So anything else to come before the board?
I just like to, go ahead, Rick.
Oh, go ahead, John, go ahead.
I just had a couple of quick questions. I think in the discussion about the new hire, we talked about job descriptions and who's responsible for what. And I know Laurel and Mary Lou picked up the ball and ran with it when this former employee turned out to be a problem back earlier in 20 and then through 20. And here we are in 21. I just want to be clear about what is going to happen in the future now. Do Laurel and Mary Lou still feel they need to be involved as we move forward, even with the new hire? And if that's the case, I noticed in the claims you guys had some little dollar amount. So are we still paying you guys for what you're doing? And I just want to be clear about how we're moving forward.
so those claims were from actually like December and January. There might have been a little in February, but we have not been, we have not been involved. Lynn has been handling everything.
We do go in from time to time when she asks us to, but we are, and I can still do that. We're not being paid to do that. We just go in, and we try to help look for stuff that she might not be able to find.
Right.
Or I borrow the policy book and see if we can find things that we're looking for.
So does that mean that when the new person is hired, you guys won't need to be involved at all, or will you still need to be involved?
Probably not. Lynn is well versed on what needs to be done with payables. Getting in, I may come in and sit down and have a lengthy sit down with the new employee regarding my expectations with the financials, but I would be doing it as a board member, just as I go in to approve the claims as a board member. So there's no pay involved for me going forward. If, like if this new person, is gone and, possibly then Lynn's on vacation or something, yeah, Mary Lou and I may step in and then it's a different story. But I feel pretty much from the first of the year, but not completely, anything that I'm doing is as a board member, which I'm not submitting any timesheets for.
Yeah. And I agree with Laurel. And as I go in, even before all this happened, as a board member and sit down with Lynn or try to, most of the time we're doing research or history, trying to figure out why something was that way. And I still would do that. She texts me, and sometimes with two heads are better than one, and we'll figure out something. But no, I think in the beginning, Laurel should be involved with the orientation on, on helping the person feel and adjust to what they're supposed to be doing. And then also we've got Bill there who knows the system really well, and he's a big help, as he was with Laurel and I.
Yeah, I guess the question is, will the new person suffice? So it sounds like the new person will be sufficient, and then you guys won't need to be involved in terms of, what you consider to be hourly work and
Right.
stated prior to this. Because I think there was a question at some point about, if we're classifying, and again, this is not a witch hunt. I'm not trying to figure out why you got paid. That's not the problem. I think the issue is if the board's authorizing you guys as employees, then that's kind of a separate structure. And we just make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, because I think there's some state code that precludes board members from getting paid. So we have to be careful that we're defining this. It's a little bit like the water accounts that you're dealing with. We want to make sure we're defining it properly, and whatever we're doing is, bifurcated well enough that we're not going to have any more issues with audits and that sort of thing in the future.
Okay.
I like the word bifurcated. Whatever, I'm going to look that up.
Sorry about that.
Rick, let me know what
I think it's all reasonable comments, John. And it, not to revisit, but I will anyhow. The whole idea of originally 3 days and then 2 days maybe was valid. But with this new person coming on, we may need to have more involvement. I mean, that's something that's going to be determined as we go through the process. But Lynn's done a remarkable amount of work on her own. Certainly over the last 4 months have been extremely productive. So we'll deal with that one, as we said earlier. But the support's been excellent from Mary Lou and Laurel. Fair question. I think we're ready to move on.
Okay, any other comments before we close the meeting?
I got the dictionary out, but I won't have time to look it up.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a great week, everybody.
Take care.
Next meeting.
Oh,
Okay.
Meeting, yeah, April 26th. Be
Okay.
there, 9 a.m.
The start of leaf pickup. Really?
oh, is it?
It is. And
5 days worth.
take care now.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.